Hello there, Chiamaka here, from Evergreen African Folktale Studios. This video you're about to watch will blow your mind. It is highly impactful and full of lessons. Trust me, you'll love it. Let's watch it together.
In the heart of Lagos, there lived a young woman named Linda. She was in her late 20s, beautiful and always dressed in the latest fashion. Her caramel skin glowed under the sun, and a long, silky weave framed her perfectly shaped face. No matter where she went, heads turned to admire her beauty. But behind her elegance was a restless heart, one that could never be satisfied. Linda had one obsession: money. She grew up in a struggling household where her parents barely made ends meet. Her father was a retired civil servant, and her mother sold provisions in front of their one-room apartment. From a young age, Linda vowed never to suffer like her parents. She wanted riches, luxury, and power at any cost. While other young women dreamed of love and family, Linda's dreams were filled with mansions, designer bags, and private jets. She scrolled endlessly through social media, envying the rich influencers who flaunted their lavish lifestyles. She didn't care how they got their wealth. All that mattered was that they had it, and she wanted the same, fast. Unlike her childhood friend Amaka, who worked hard as a banker, Linda believed that wealth should come easily. "Why should I stress myself like a slave when I can enjoy life?" she often said. Her boyfriend Emeka, a hardworking mechanic, tried to advise her. "Linda, patience is key. If you work hard, money will come." Linda scoffed. "Emeka, please, look at those big men driving Benz and Range Rover. Do you think they got rich by struggling? No, they know the secret to wealth, and I will find it too." One evening, as she scrolled through her phone, a luxury event caught her eye. It was an exclusive party for the city's wealthiest people. Determined to attend, she borrowed an expensive dress and convinced Emeka to go with her. The party was like nothing Linda had ever seen before. Golden chandeliers, diamond-studded guests, and endless glasses of champagne. The air smelled of wealth. While Amaka sat quietly, Linda's eyes darted around, searching for an opportunity. That was when she saw Madame Stella. Madame Stella was a mysterious older woman, known for her extravagant lifestyle. She wore a flowing lace gown with gold jewelry dangling from her wrists and neck. Her fingers, heavy with diamond rings, sparkled under the light. People whispered about her. No one knew exactly how she made her money, but everyone feared and respected her. Linda's heart raced. This was the kind of woman she needed to know. She walked up to her boldly. "Madam, I admire you so much. Please tell me, how do you make so much money?" Madame Stella looked at her with piercing eyes, then smiled knowingly. "Are you ready to do whatever it takes?" Linda swallowed hard, but she didn't hesitate. "Yes." Madame Stella leaned in and whispered, "Then follow me. I will show you the path to riches." Linda had no idea that her desire for wealth was about to lead her into something she could never escape. Linda followed Madame Stella out of the party, her heart pounding with excitement. The night air was thick and humid, but she barely noticed. All she could think about was the fortune that awaited her. Madame Stella's long, flowing gown swayed as she walked, her gold heels clicking against the pavement. A black luxury SUV with tinted windows was parked outside. A tall, muscular driver in a black suit opened the door for them. Linda hesitated for a brief moment, but the thought of wealth pushed her forward. She stepped inside, sinking into the soft leather seat beside Madame Stella. The car sped off into the dark streets of Lagos. "Tell me, Linda," Madame Stella said, her voice calm yet powerful. "Why do you want to be rich?" Linda's eyes gleamed. "I want to live a luxurious life. I don't want to struggle like my parents. I want designer clothes, expensive vacations, and houses in Banana Island. Madame Stella chuckled. Good, you have the hunger, but hunger alone is not enough. Are you willing to do anything for wealth? Linda nodded eagerly. Yes, anything, Madame Stella smiled. Then you must be ready for the initiation. Linda's excitement grew. Initiation, Madame Stella nodded. The road to riches is not for the weak. Only those who are truly determined can handle the power that comes with it. Linda's hands trembled slightly, but she masked her fear. I'm ready. The car pulled into a vast compound, surrounded by tall fences and security guards. The large mansion before them was even more extravagant than Linda had imagined. The doors opened automatically and they stepped inside. The interior was breathtaking. Golden chandeliers, marble floors, velvet curtains, and walls decorated with paintings that looked like they cost millions. The air smelled of rich incense. Madame Stella led Linda into a dimly lit room. A large table covered with red silk stood in the center, surrounded by flickering candles. The atmosphere felt different, heavy, almost suffocating. An older man in a long red robe sat at the head of the table. His piercing eyes settled on Linda, and for the first time she felt uneasy. Madame Stella spoke. Master, this is Linda. She seeks wealth and is willing to do what it takes. The man nodded. Do you understand that wealth comes with a price? Linda hesitated for a moment, but quickly said, yes. The man clapped his hands and two women walked in, carrying a covered golden tray. When they placed it in front of Linda, her stomach twisted with anticipation. Open it, the man commanded. Linda reached forward and slowly lifted the cover. Inside, coiled like a serpent, was a long, glittering snake made entirely of gold. Its eyes sparkled like diamonds and its body shimmered under the candlelight. Linda gasped, both in awe and fear. This is the serpent of wealth, the man said in a deep voice. If you accept it, your life will never be the same again. Money will flow to you effortlessly. But once you choose this path, there is no turning back. Linda's hands trembled. The golden snake seemed to move slightly as if it were alive. Do you accept? The man asked again. Linda swallowed hard. The voice in her head screamed at her to run, but greed silenced it. This was her moment. With a shaky breath, she whispered, yes. The candles flickered wildly, and a sudden gust of wind rushed through the room. Linda felt an overwhelming energy surge through her body. Her skin tingled, her heart pounded, and for a brief second, she felt weightless, like she was being lifted into another realm. Then everything went dark. Linda had no idea that by the time she woke up, she would no longer be the same person. Linda's eyes fluttered open. The dim candlelight cast eerie shadows across the room, and a strange warmth coursed through her veins. She sat up abruptly, her heart pounding. The last thing she remembered was saying, yes. But what had happened after that? Madame Stella and the old man were still in the room, watching her with unreadable expressions. You have been chosen, the man said. His voice echoed, almost as if it came from deep within her own mind. Linda looked down at her hands. They were trembling, but she felt different, stronger, more powerful. And then she saw it. The golden snake was no longer on the tray. Instead, its shimmering scales were now etched onto her skin, wrapping around her wrist like a glowing tattoo. It pulsed slightly, as if it had a life of its own. Linda gasped and jerked her hand away. What is this? Madame Stella smiled. Your connection to wealth. From this moment, money will never be a problem for you. Linda's fear melted at those words. Money. That was all that mattered. She touched the glowing mark again, feeling a strange thrill run through her body. The old man continued, everything you touch will bring fortune. But remember, wealth comes with rules. Do not break them. Linda nodded eagerly, not even bothering to ask what those rules were. She had what she wanted. Over the next few weeks, Linda's life transformed. She no longer needed to work. Money seemed to flow to her effortlessly. Her bank account, once empty, now had millions pouring in. Strangers gifted her expensive jewelry. Random business deals fell into her lap. She could buy anything she wanted: cars, designer clothes, luxury trips abroad. She moved into a penthouse in the heart of Lagos, throwing lavish parties that people whispered about in envy. Linda had become untouchable. But then the nightmares started. At first, they were subtle. Dark figures lurking in the corners of her room, whispers calling her name. Then they became worse: a snake. Every night she dreamed of a giant serpent slithering through her house, wrapping itself around her body, hissing into her ear. Sometimes it spoke in Madame Stella's voice. Other times, it was the old man's deep, echoing tone: "Do not break the rules." One night, Linda jolted awake, drenched in sweat. The room was dark, but something was wrong. The air was heavy. Then she heard it, a faint hissing sound. Her heart pounded. Slowly, she turned her head toward the foot of her bed. There, in the dim light, was the snake. But it wasn't golden anymore. It was alive, huge, thick, black and green, its glowing eyes locked onto her. Linda screamed and scrambled back, but the snake didn't move. Instead, it opened its mouth, and piles of money came pouring out. Bundles of crisp Naira notes, stacks of dollars, foreign currencies, all flowing from the serpent's mouth like water. Linda gasped, her fear momentarily replaced by fascination. The snake hissed again and more money spilled out. She hesitated for only a second before reaching forward and grabbing the cash. It was real. It felt real. This was her wealth. But as she touched the money, something strange happened. Her fingers tingled, then burned. A sharp, searing pain shot through her arm. She screamed, dropping the cash, and looked at her hands. Her skin was scaling. Tiny golden scales were forming on her fingertips, spreading slowly up her arms. Linda's breath came in short gasps. She clutched her hands to her chest, staring in horror. What was happening to her? The snake watched, its tongue flicking out, its glowing eyes unblinking. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it vanished into thin air. Linda sat frozen, shaking. She rushed to the mirror and held out her arms. The golden scales were still there, shimmering under the light. She rubbed them, scratched at them. Nothing. They wouldn't go away. Panic clawed at her chest. She needed answers. The next morning, she stormed into Madame Stella's mansion, her hands trembling. "What's happening to me?" she demanded, shoving her arm forward. Madame Stella's smile didn't waver. Instead, she looked at Linda calmly and said, "You broke the first rule." Linda's blood ran cold. "What rule?" she whispered. Madame Stella's smile widened. "You took the money from the snake." A chill ran down Linda's spine. I didn't know." "It doesn't matter," Madame Stella interrupted. The curse has started. Linda's heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear her own thoughts. "Curse? No," she whispered, shaking her head. "You said this was a blessing. You said I would be rich." "And you are," Madame Stella said, still smiling. "But the more money you take, the more the curse will spread. The scales will grow." Linda's mouth went dry. "What happens when they cover my body?" Madame Stella's smile turned wicked. "You become what you worship." Linda staggered back. She wasn't just becoming rich. She was becoming the snake. Linda stood frozen, her pulse racing as Madame Stella's words echoed in her ears. "You become what you worship." No, this can't be true," Linda stammered, rubbing her arms desperately. But the golden scales were still there, crawling up her skin like a growing disease. Madame Stella's smile never faded. "It is already happening, my dear. There is no going back." Linda shook her head violently. "There must be a way. I'll return the money. I'll give it all away." The older woman chuckled, shaking her head. The money was never the problem. Your greed led you here. Linda's stomach twisted. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be. She turned and ran out of the mansion, her mind spinning with panic. She needed help, anyone who could stop this nightmare. That night, Linda locked herself in her penthouse, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The scales had spread past her elbows. They shimmered under the light, moving as if they had a life of their own. Her once beautiful skin was disappearing, replaced by something inhuman. Tears rolled down her face as she whispered, "God help me." But deep down, she knew this wasn't something prayers could fix. The curse had begun, and it wasn't stopping. Suddenly, the air in the room shifted. A heavy presence filled the space. Then, hiss! Linda spun around, her heart leaping into her throat. The giant snake was back, but this time, it wasn't just vomiting money. It was staring straight at her. Its golden eyes gleamed, and its mouth opened wide, revealing fangs as long as knives. Linda screamed and stumbled backward, but her body was changing faster now. The scales crept up her neck. Her fingers fused together. Her legs melted into one long, thick tail. She collapsed onto the floor, writhing in agony as her body stretched, her bones twisting, her human form fading. The snake flicked its tongue, watching. It knew this was her final moment as a human. Linda gasped for breath, her vision blurring. She tried to scream again, but her voice was gone. Instead, a hiss escaped her lips. The last thing she saw before darkness consumed her was a snake, its massive body coiling around her, welcoming her into a new existence. Days passed. Linda was never seen again. Her luxurious penthouse was abandoned, untouched. The world whispered about her sudden disappearance, but no one knew the truth. No one except Madame Stella. One evening, she walked into her secret chamber, her lips curling into a smile as she gazed at the golden statue in the corner. A huge snake, its mouth open, vomiting endless streams of money. Its golden eyes gleamed with a familiar glow. Madame Stella ran her fingers along its smooth surface. "Greed always has a price," she murmured. Then she turned and walked away, leaving the golden snake alone in the flickering candlelight, waiting for its next victim.
Thanks for watching this video. If you find this story useful, kindly show us some love by clicking on the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel. Like the video and share. See you soon.